Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel, and if you're new here, hi, thank you for joining me today. My name is Veronica. I don't know if I'm vibing with this whole vest thing. I kind of feel like I look like a fisherman, and it's too hot in here to look like a fisherman right now. Also, I would just like to point out this is one of my first ever story times type of video, so I'm sorry if it's kind of jumbled or if I'm talking too fast. I really just don't know how these things work quite yet. I promise I will work on it and be better in the future. So today I'm going to be telling you guys how I got fired technically from my last job. So my last job was at a popular pet chain store. They have stores located all over the world, but they're mostly popular here in America. I don't want to use the real name of the store in this video just for liability reasons, so I'm going to come up with a name for it. I don't, pet brains. That sounds demented, but I'm gonna stick with Pet Brains. So I used to work at a store called Pet Brains. I worked there for almost 2 years before this occurrence happened. I do just want to point out that I do have notes written down because I tend to get jumbled and get things confused and tell them out of order. So I just wrote some notes really quick before this just to keep me on track. Also, I'm not going to be calling any of my coworkers or managers by their real names in this video just because I feel like that invades their privacy and it's not okay to do that. The characters that will be saying the same are me, obviously, and my 2 sisters. So for those who don't know, I do have a pretty big family. I have about 5 or 6 siblings. So me and my 2 oldest sisters, I'm like right in the middle, so I have 2 older sisters. We have a group chat, and I had just turned 21 and I wanted to take a vacation with them. So one day I nonchalantly mentioned it within our like little sister group chat thing that we have. And I was like, hey you guys, like let's take a vacation this winter. Let's go somewhere fun and warm because we live in Michigan. It's super freezing here. So I was like, let's go somewhere fun. Let's get this planned out now, get it sorted. So this was around end of August when I said that in the group chat. Immediately right off the bat, both of my sisters were super down. So we started talking about different places. We were like, we can go to Florida, go to the Keys. Maybe we can go to the New Orleans. We can go visit you out in California. And then my oldest sister, Dana, was like, why don't we go to Mexico? I've never been to Mexico. She has. My second oldest sister, Dakota, hasn't been to Mexico either. So we were honestly super down to go. It sounded super exciting. Obviously, it's warm down in Mexico, and that's exactly what we needed. Right off the bat, me and Dana started looking up hotels, flights, everything we needed to go on vacation down there. We found a couple hotel rooms and we wanted to get everything booked as soon as possible because we were planning on going in December, which is obviously probably going to be their busier season due to kids being out of school and families also want to take vacation somewhere warm. Come early September, I went into work. We had a date range where we knew we wanted to go and be down in Mexico for. I had to wait until my college semester let out, which was mid-December. And then I also wanted to be home in time for the holidays with my family. So we had dates worked out. I think it was December 15th through the 23rd. It was something similar like that. So those dates. So I went into work at Pet Brains and I usually work the morning shift there. Mind you, I had been there for about a year and a half prior, maybe even a little bit over that. So I went in there, I talked to the morning manager whose name will be John. So I went up to John, I gave him the dates, I asked him, hey, is this okay if I take vacation during this time? So a little bit of background here. We had recently got a new head manager at our store. We are going to call him Brad. So Brad was fairly new to our store. I believe he worked at another Pet Brain before this. But he recently got transferred over to ours and our head managers got transferred somewhere else. So the year prior around the holiday season in December, we had a different manager. I'm going to call her Claire in this video. So how time off worked during that season was it was called blackout dates. So we had blackout dates, but there were still about 3 slots that people could sign off. So out of like the 40-50 workers that we had there at all times, 3 people could sign off specific dates during that time. It was first come, first serve. Whoever got it first got that time off. So I was like, I'm planning this in September. I should be able to get the time off. I'm sure nobody else has put time in yet. So I went up to John in the morning. I was like, hey, listen, I need these dates off. If possible, I'd really appreciate it. He told me that shouldn't be a problem at all. I'll go put it in. So he came back, handed me a slip to fill off with the time off that I needed. He said that he would get into the file system right away. So I was like, okay, awesome, great. So over the next couple of days, I hadn't heard anything about the time off that I requested. I wanted to make sure that it was all approved and ready to go before I bought my plane tickets or booked anything, just because most of the stuff isn't refundable. So my other manager, he worked in the pet care section for the most part and customer service. That was his main thing. I will call him Cameron. So I worked with Cameron also one morning. John wasn't at work that day. And it was about, we were getting ready to buy our tickets. We were eyeballing it. So I went up to Cameron and I just quickly confirmed. I was like, hey, I talked to John already about this. I wanted to put time in off. He said that yes, it was there and that I should be all set to go. So I said, awesome. So I went home that day after work. I texted in the group chat. My oldest sister bought the tickets right off the bat and we booked the hotel rooms. Everything was set. It was awesome. I was so excited. Now this is pretty crucial for the part of the video. The head manager, who I'm calling Brad, I hadn't worked with Brad since I worked morning shifts. He primarily worked night shifts. Not only that, but he was also on vacation during this time for about a week or two. So I hadn't really got a chance to talk to him, but I got the approval from the other managers, so I thought I was all set to go. So I hadn't seen him in a couple of weeks, and then I worked with him a couple of times after I put in the time off slip. I come into work early November and I go into the clock out room and I go to clock in, and I always check the bulletin boards that are in there just to see like what's going on, what I need to know. And then there is this huge sheet and it was like all bold, colorful, like everything, and it said absolutely no time off during these specific dates. So one of them was around Thanksgiving time. Obviously we have Black Friday deals at Pet Brains, and we had to work there during those times, which was fine. And then I looked down, and then the other time that we weren't allowed to sign off was from December 15th through January 1st. And below that it said absolutely no time off will be granted for any of these dates for any employee. So it doesn't matter if you work pet care, cashier, you're a manager, or if you work through a beauty salon. Nobody was allowed to sign time off during those dates. I immediately started to kind of panic. Obviously the time had already been approved by my other managers and we had already bought our tickets. So after that, I walked out of the break room after I clocked in, and sure enough, I run straight into Brad, who is the head manager. He looks at me, I look at him. I'm about to go and say, hey, I need to talk to you about something. But then he cuts me off. He's like, we really need to talk about something. And I'm like, no. Here we go. So I knew immediately off the bat it was going to be about my vacation time because that sign had just been put up that day. So we're out on the sales floor, right by the manager's office in the clock-in room. And he's like, look, like I know you said that you needed that time off, like it wasn't approved by me. And I was like, well, the other managers approved it and they told me I was all set to go. And he was like, well, you're not. No employee's allowed to take that time off. I was like, well, did the slots already fill for it? Because usually last year at least, there were three different people could take time off during that. It was on a first come, first served basis. He goes, yeah, no, I changed it this year and we're not doing that this year. What do you mean we're not doing that this year? We have plenty of employees here. We should be able to do it. It shouldn't be a problem. And he was like, sorry, I don't know what to tell you. And I was like, internally freaking out at this moment. My shift had just begun. I was like, I don't know what to do or say. Like, I literally just bought the tickets like a month or two prior. They're non-refundable. They cost like $1,000. We booked the hotel rooms and everything. Like, what do you expect me to do? I told him all of this. I was like, we booked it, everything's paid for. Like, it's a sister vacation, and it was also my sister's birthday, or it was supposed to be my sister's birthday when we were going down there. So it was supposed to be like a birthday celebration for her as well. And then he looks at me, he's like, well, I don't know what to tell you. If you don't show up, we're gonna have to fire you. I was like, what do you mean? He's like, well, if you take this vacation, I'll take it as your resignation. I'm like, so you're basically telling me either I go on this vacation that's already paid for and get fired, or I stay and work during the holidays? What? Mind you that this time was already pre-approved by 2 other managers. I triple checked with both of them to make sure I was a-okay to buy the tickets. Brad hadn't been at work during the same time I had been at work for almost a month. So I didn't have the chance to ask him. I even left him sticky notes like in the manager's room, and he hadn't responded at that time. Like, are you serious? So at this point in time, my shift had just started. And I was furious. I looked at my manager, I was like, so basically what you're telling me is that you're firing me. He goes, no, I'm gonna take it as you quitting. Like, I'm not quitting though. Like, the time was signed off and approved. What? I looked at him and I was like, okay, so when is my last day going to be? When do you want me to stop working? He's like, you can keep on working up until you leave for your vacation. So mind you, this is like a month and a half away, my vacation. So I had a month and a half to continue working there. I don't know about you, but when I figured out that like if I went on this vacation, I was gonna be fired, that threw away all my work ethic, basically. I was like, what am I even doing here? Trying hard to make sure everything's going great when I'm not even going to have a job once I come back from this vacation. Not only this, but he told me this at the beginning of my shift. If I was the manager, I would have at least waited until the end of the shift, because I can tell you, as soon as I walked away from him and I was working pet care that day, I ran behind the fish wall and I started crying. I had never been fired a day before in my life. I was a hard worker. I did my best. I showed up at time. I hardly ever called off. Like, I'm like pat on the back kind of thing, but I'm a star employee. Like, you know, I was so frustrated. I was so confused. I remember texting my family and my sisters in the group chat, like telling them just what went down. I was telling all my coworkers. I was furious. I got along greatly with all of my other coworkers and my managers. I loved everybody. Everybody loved me. But there was this one manager, I'm going to call him Eric. He was assistant manager. So he was the next one under Brad. So it went Brad, Eric, and then all the other managers who focused on separate stuff. So like John and Cameron, there are a couple other managers. I got along greatly with all of them. They all loved me, you know, whatever. So I immediately went up to John and Cameron and I told them what was going on over the next couple of days. Whenever I ran into them, they were all shocked. They were like, I don't know why he would say that to you. I don't know why he thought that would be appropriate. All of this other stuff. And then I went up to Eric. Me and Eric were always super close. You know, we mostly worked together for the most part. And I told him, and he was absolutely furious that Brad would actually fire me basically over this, especially since I had gotten permission from other managers. He said it was one person. They can survive without one person during the holiday season. I know that is busy. I know that it gets hectic there. I understand that, but I'm also someone who usually never asks for time off. So he was shocked, and all my other managers backed me up so much. Brad would not change his mind though. I went up to him a couple different times to talk to him about it. I was like, listen, like I can work Black Friday. I can work all day Black Friday. Whenever you need me up until when I need to take my vacation, I can work as much as you need me to. It's not a big deal. If it means I get to keep my job, like I will be here Thanksgiving, getting everything set up for the store for Black Friday in the morning. I will open the store for Black Friday for the doorbusters and everything like that. He said, no, sorry, that doesn't change the fact that that you can't take that vacation. So over the next month and a half, I showed up to work as usual, except this time I really started to bust my butt. I was busting my butt super hard, trying to make sure I did everything perfect. I got everything that I needed to, and I went above and beyond just because, like, that's who I am as a person. I felt so disrespected still over the fact that Brad would do that to me, that he would just like throw me away as a worker. I had worked there for like a year and a half before, and like I said, I was like a model employee when I worked there. So I didn't understand why it was so easy for him just to like throw me away, disregard me and stuff. That really made me feel like the company did not respect me, and that I wasn't as valuable to them as I thought I was. As much as they said I was to them, it showed me that I'm just another fish in the sea of employees who are willing to work for them. And to me, that's not okay. I feel like employees need to really respect, employers really need to respect their employees, and they really need to realize their values and have respect for them. And you know, at this point I was like, maybe it's for the best that I'm leaving this company, because obviously they don't respect me as much as I respected them. So roll around to about a week or two before I left for my vacation. I had been talking to my other managers about this, especially Eric, and he went up to Brad, I just said his name. He went up to Brad multiple times, telling him what a mistake he was making. I was such a valuable employee, I'm a hard worker, and it was really a mistake to let me go. About 2 weeks or a week before I left for my vacation, Brad pulled me aside and he told me that he decided he wasn't going to fire me, basically, and that I would be able to stay, but I would have to immediately work the day I came back, and that I couldn't take any more time off. So I was like, okay, like, thank you so much, Brad, I really appreciate it, blah blah blah. But I knew, like, in my head that I didn't want to work for this company anymore. If they like were that easy to like just throw me away, why would I want to work for them? And over this time, like, I had already started looking for jobs and applying different places, and I knew that like when I got back, like, I would start interviewing and stuff, because that was just like so offensive to me. And I ended up going on this super awesome vacation to Mexico with my sisters. We went to Tulum, and then we also went to Cancun, of course. We were there for about a week. It was absolutely amazing. It was one of the best vacations I've had in a super long time, and I didn't regret a single second of it whatsoever. But I did return back to Pet Brains, and once I got back to Pet Brains, basically I started slacking off because I truly just didn't care anymore. My father offered me a position at his office. He owns his own business, that's the word I was looking for. He owns his own business. I had worked for him previously, and he offered me my job back, so obviously I accepted it, and that is currently where I still am today, working for my father. Yeah, I mean, I think it just goes to show that if you treat your employees like crap. Once I got that job position offer from my father, I went ahead and I put my 2 weeks in anyways. I think everybody, all my managers were pretty shocked, especially Brad. Like, he was super self-centered, and he was like, I did this amazing thing for you, I offered you your job back, and you're just gonna go ahead and quit anyways, kind of thing. And I'm like, yeah, yes I am, because obviously you don't respect me and my values here as an employee. So yeah, I am going to quit. And it was one of the best feelings ever. I still go up to Pet Brains quite frequently because it is close to my home, and it is close to my new job where I'm currently working today. I run into all the managers. Brad does not say a single word to me, which is fun because quite frankly I don't want to talk to him. All the other managers there, they still love me. I've been offered my job back there multiple times by them. They're like, if you ever want to come back, we would love to have you back. And I always say thank you, you know, whatnot, but honestly, I don't see myself going back there anytime soon. Anyways, guys, thank you so much for watching today's video. This is how I almost got fired. If you like this video, make sure to give it a big thumbs up and hit that subscribe button. It would mean the world to me, and it would give me motivation to keep on making videos for you guys. If you want to hear more stories about when I worked at Pet Brains, leave a comment down below. Let me know what kind of things you would want to know about my time when I worked there. I would love to tell you guys all the little details about it. Thanks you guys so much for watching. I'll see you in the next video. Bye.